I've made it abundantly clear on this channel that I'm a massive Devil May Cry fan. It is amongst my favorite gaming franchises of all time, and with Hideki Kamiya now having a working relationship with Capcom again, coming back for the Okami sequel, he has expressed interest in doing a remake of the original game. I have some reservations about this, so welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and yes, from the man himself, as reported on by Screen Rant, Hideki Kamiya would love to remake Devil May Cry from the ground up. Now, we live in a very interesting time when it comes to gaming where remakes, remasters, the whole nine, are pretty much dime a dozen. Some games are getting full from the ground up remakes that turn out great, others turn out awful. There's a lot of in between. Some are full reimaginings. Other times we just get these HD remasters that 9 out of 10, at least for me, are the preferable route to go because it has the most minimal of changes. But that being said, Devil May Cry, as much as I love the series, I have to acknowledge the first one is the one that's aged the worst. It is the one that is probably the hardest to go back to in the modern age. That being said, I don't know that it should get remade, and I'm going to break down why, and it has to do with another remake that Capcom is doing. So we're going to go through this before we do hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day. And let's go ahead and juxtapose the two with one another. Now that Devil May Cry creator Hideki Kamiya is working with Capcom again, the frequently outspoken developer says he'd love to fully remake the original game. Kamiya is currently making a sequel to his classic 2006 title Okami with his newly formed development studio Clovers for Capcom. And it sounds like Kamiya wants to take advantage of his creative reunion with the publisher. But if we were to make a new version of Devil May Cry, which released in 2001, it would play very differently with modern game technology and sensibilities. And it's that sensibilities part that does bother me, but also the different gameplay. That's worrisome as well. Now, I can't imagine the gameplay would be too different. I mean, Devil May Cry has never really changed its gameplay formula since the first game. It's just evolved it, getting better and better with each game. I mean, let's be real. While 3 is my favorite from a story perspective, Devil May Cry is easily the most fun, most fluid, best to play of all of them. So, needless to say, if they're going to remake 1, and when they say change the gameplay, okay, by all means. What you mean is you're going to upgrade it, make it more like Devil May Cry 5 with all the, better hitboxes, more fluid, things to that effect. I'm all in. I understand that. I'm down for that. That's really all that I think would be necessary in terms of gameplay changes, though. It's the sensibilities part that does worry me, but we're gonna put that on the back burner, hang tight, let's only focus on the gameplay as is, and again, it hasn't aged well, it's very much of its time, but remember that sensibilities part. Kamiya stated his desire in a video on his YouTube channel via VGC, answering a question about whether he'd want to revisit the original game. Kamiya said, "As for a Devil May Cry remake, of course I'd love to do that. Of course I'd love to do that." He elaborated that he usually doesn't play his own games, but occasionally watching clips of the original DMC made him think about its now outdated gameplay design 24 years after release. "With today's technology and game design approach, of course I'd want to remake it from the ground up," said Kamiya. He expressed that no such remake was in the works now, that he had nothing in mind, but if it were to materialize, he'd come up with something, said Kamiya. "That's what I'd do." Now, first of all, this does put a huge full stop on something that was reported on when the Devil May Cry anime, which sucked by the way, dropped. There was a bunch of information going around on X that there was also a remake of the first game in the works. There was literally no confirmation about it whatsoever, and I thought it sounded, like one of those, just do sort of, putting stuff out in the universe sort of things, but it was worth talking about because the new Netflix show just dropped, and frankly, even though I don't really want a remake of the first game, anything would have been a palate cleanser from that piece of trash. But the fact of the matter is, yes, it does seem like now we have confirmation. No, there's not been a Devil May Cry remake in the works up to this point, but it could be possible. That's really worrisome now. And it's worrisome for this reason right here. Another Capcom game that is now being remastered with outright blatant censorship that they refuse to acknowledge. A PS2 classic is being censored by Capcom 23 years later, and before PlayStation fans panic, the original 2002 PS2 game in question is not being censored. That wouldn't even be possible. However, Capcom is set to resurface this 23-year-old PS2 game with a new remaster, and the remaster is censoring the original content. Now, I get they said a full ground-up remake of Devil May Cry, and guess what? Even though it would be from the ground up, that does not make it immune to censorship. In fact, Devil May Cry, being a game from 2001, has some very 2001 style things in it, from the way men talk to women, from the way women look in games, all the cool shit that we like. By the way, this isn't me criticizing that. Y'all watch me? No, I advocate for that shit. Put in all the sexualization and misogyny in your games you want. That shit is awesome. It was a simpler fucking time. That being said, let's be real, we good goddamn know there's gonna be some changes. How do we know this? Well, we saw it with the Resident Evil reimaginings. I don't even want to call them remakes, because frankly, they're not remakes. Now, whether you like the games or not, really doesn't matter. I think we can all agree there is verifiable censorship in Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remakes. The censorship is not substantial or consequential, but in an age very sensitive to censorship, it has not gone unnoticed, and some fans in particular are not happy. And this is another problem here, stating that it is not consequential or that it is not substantial. Any sort of censorship, especially in M-rated games that are not made for kids, that treating us like we're children, that we can't have or understand or handle, insert subject matter here, or insert the way certain pixels on the screen and lines of code that are ones and zeros look and how they work, is bananas. So yes, it is always substantial, it is always consequential. There was just a big hullabaloo about some of the just now being noticed censorship going on in the Oblivion Remastered game that we just, I mean, people are upset about that. Does it break the game? No. Does it very much maybe harm the enjoyment or the nostalgia, or just make you wonder, what are they doing this for? There was no reason for this, aside from they're either pushing an agenda, treating you like a child, maybe all of the above. Yeah, this is all cause for concern, and with a Devil May Cry remake, I think we have right to be concerned. For those completely out of the loop, 2002 PS2 exclusive Onimusha 2 Samurai's Destiny is getting a remaster from Capcom. In the process of this, fans noticed that one of the game's female characters has had a costume change that gives her a more conservative outfit. Why this change was made, we don't know. Capcom obviously did not highlight it, but this is far from the first remaster to make these types of changes to a game from yesteryear. And it's also not the first time that Capcom has done it. I already mentioned Resident Evil, but let's not forget the atrocious, and I mean truly terrible, Dead Rising games. The Dead Rising remake is like, I was flabbergasted at the amount of censorship in that. They censored the word communist. Like, not only do they change certain characters' race and change certain ways they talk, they censored the word communist as to not offend commies. And I know that's probably going to be sold in China, but censorship is still censorship, and if you're trying to appease the commies, you've lost the plot. Now, I'm not a big Onimusha fan. In fact, I, to my knowledge, have never played an Onimusha game. Maybe I did when I was younger and didn't realize that's what it was, because, man, PS2 just had one banger library, so I may have played one of my dad's Onimusha games. The fact of the matter is, I'm not upset about the Onimusha being censored in isolation, because it's not a franchise I love. I am upset at the idea of the censorship, though, because there are Onimusha fans, there are people that are going to want to buy this game, they are going to be upset about the censorship, it is going to affect sales, and I know good goddamn well that if the same thing happened to Devil May Cry, that would upset me. So yeah, I've got second-hand annoyance for the Onimusha fans, and I hope y'all speak with your wallet if this is something that truly does bother you. You look at the comparison right here and see that this is a massive amount of censorship, by the way. This isn't just, you know, oh, a little this, which would still be wrong. I don't think there's this whole give and take, oh, only a little bit of censorship is fine. But this is pretty massive when you look at the notable difference between the coverage here of the female character. Capcom has yet to acknowledge or address the negative reception to the unexpected change that the game has received. And they are not going to, and that is why I think we should worry about a Devil May Cry remake, because not only is it almost guaranteed that there's going to be censorship, but Capcom isn't going to address it either. They're not going to try and make right with the fans. Now, I understand that Capcom as a whole, they've done a lot of good and a lot of bad. They've built up some great will with fans, and they've absolutely torn it down. That's kind of been Capcom's MO. Shit, ever since I was a Capcom fan in the 90s, do a bunch of great things to build goodwill with fans, burn it all down for several years with bad business decisions, build it back up with great ones, and then it just ebbs and flows like a roller coaster. That is Capcom as a company without fail. But Hideki Kamiya has never made a bad game, and I don't want this to be the first one he's done. I don't want that reputation tarnished, because Capcom is overzealous when it comes to bending the knee to Western sensibilities. Much like the Capcom IP he left behind, Kamiya's sensibilities have evolved and changed in the past 2 decades plus, and he would take a different approach to Devil May Cry today that would make it feel more fluid and modern. Like today's character action games, Kamiya could instead make a 6th Devil May Cry game, as the series is overdue, but he appears more intent on reevaluating his own work and taking a second shot at the original story. Now, that's where the article on the Devil May Cry remake ends, or at least it's where it ends for me, because the rest is kind of fruitless and doesn't really matter in terms of the context of a Devil May Cry remake. But the point is, I don't know how much of this is editorialized or how much of this is truly things that, Kamiya feels himself. Does he want to reevaluate his own work more? Is there no, I would think Devil May Cry 6 has been in the works for a while now. I mean, Devil May Cry 5 ended and was the highest selling of the games in the franchise. It was very much left open for a sequel. We've been waiting for a sequel for quite a while now. I can't imagine that they wouldn't be working, and that they haven't been working, or at least been pitching and doing pre-production or something on a 6th installment. Also, they keep talking about terms like modern, and the sensibilities have changed. Again, is that editorializing, or is Kamiya now somebody that we have to worry about in terms of tarnishing his reputation with, again, bending the knee and kowtowing to this fake Western sensibility that doesn't even really exist, yet for some reason the corporate individuals at BlackRock have convinced the Japanese is the way Americans want their video games. It's a very weird notion, and if we were going to do anything with Devil May Cry, I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of a remake if it was done like the way the Spyro Reignited trilogy did it. The exact same game with next to no changes, and even the Spyro Reignited trilogy did have some censorship, by the way. Not enough for me to throw a whole hullabaloo about it, but definitely an interesting little changes that it makes you kind of question. But the point is, give us effectively the exact same game with updated graphics, quality of life changes, maybe remaster some tracks or whatnot, the music, things of that effect, voice acting. All in all, we know that's not what we're going to get, is what it boils down to. And if that's not what we're going to get, then what's the point? I mean, you're just going to do a reimagining like you do with the Resident Evil games. You're going to effectively, potentially change the canon, ruin the story, just spit all over what the individuals grew up with, loved, what made Devil May Cry, the game that effectively created the hack and slash genre on the PS2, games that inspired things like Bayonetta, God of War. I mean, the list goes on and on. I can't see it being done faithfully in a way that honors the original with the current climate we're in, especially considering, again, even as beloved as the Oblivion remaster is, we've seen a lot of censorship in that wasn't originally noticed because, well, for one, it's pretty hard to find. It's later in the game, and people were just so excited about Oblivion that it got overlooked. But the same could very well be happening for Devil May Cry. We know some similar things happen for Resident Evil, and I mean, again, those reimaginings are chock full of censorship. So, yeah, no, while I do think that that's the one that's aged the least, if you had to tell me between the two, unless I had verifiable guarantee that it's not going to be censored or it's not going to be changed, no, just give me Devil May Cry 6 instead. I mean, with this Onimusha debacle, again, I'm not an Onimusha fan, but this game is literally coming out this month. This remaster is coming out this month, showing that Capcom is still all in on this censorship stick. Why would I trust a Devil May Cry remake? But these are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day. And not always about the gaming industry, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member. For $4.99 a month, you can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos we react to on the Sunday live streams, and of course, get involved with over 190 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity. Only one kind of diversity of thought. That's interesting to you. Join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.